Hi, my name's Laura and I'm one of the first to use Brainwave. Taking care of our special needs kids has become more critical as the dangers of the modern world create. How do we create more meaningful communication in a time that's increasingly challenging and risky? Stay with me and I'll show you how Brainwave will help bring you closer to your kids and foster positive connections. So why can't you get through to your special needs kids with your cell phones? Too often, the phone is either always ringing or at inappropriate times. Texting is superficial and has no natural conversational flow. Unlike cell phones, watches have been a part of our lives for centuries. And by including some intuitive, important functionality, Brainwave can change your whole life and communication for the better. So what's stopping you from caring to the fullest? So it's just a fact. Giving someone good, helpful care is not what takes so much out of us. The care is often meaningful and rewarding. It's the constant worry and the unknowns that get to us. Not knowing whether things are really okay, what the future holds, and what we can do to help. Your kids want their freedom and don't want to feel under lock and key. But they also know that you have to keep an eye on them. This stresses both the kids and the parents. It's hard to find a good middle ground. You don't want to be overbearing, but you also know that they're in a dangerous situation. So what we need ultimately is a way to check in on special needs kids in a way that keeps them safe, but lets them lead their lives to the fullest. We've grown accustomed to believing it's one or the other, and that care only comes at the cost of personal autonomy. So what if you could have both? Modern science achieves miracles, but life always seems cluttered with the demands on our time. Sometimes constant communication can make us feel like we are attached to a high-tech leash. We all carry phones that give us all manner of information and contacts, but often they're not the right contacts. And the older our kids get, the more they feel that they should be able to handle the world. But with age, more peril comes into their world. Childhood is a vulnerable time, and as kids get older, they get more stubborn, more resistant, and more rebellious. That same rebellion increases their potential risks and harm, while making it harder and harder to take care of them and keep them out of catastrophe. So when peril strikes, do you feel like a bad parent? That no one knows that I don't know how to best deal with this? Are you worried about the worst that could happen? Knowing your child could be lost or even at deadly risk can drive you absolutely crazy, but it could also happen. Unfortunately, kids do suffer major challenges and sometimes get badly harmed. How do you keep watch without wrecking your relationship with them? It's so isolating being a teen. No one knows that I'm in trouble. And the constant change that seems to sidestep the real problem doesn't really help, does it? It leaves us feeling alone. Now, we'd like to show you the technology that answers all of these questions. The concept is so simple and clear that you will smack your forehead and wonder why it was never introduced before. Let us introduce you to Brainwave. Brainwave revolutionises our approach to caring for special needs kids. Because one thing fixes the problem, having the right balance of attention. We're now going to play you a video. Brainwave is a revolutionary technology. We can bring you the best solution and it won't cost you an arm and a leg. In fact, it's more affordable than any other, less helpful solutions. The best care is the smartest care. There's absolutely no substitute for having a proven, intuitive way to check in without making your kids feel hurt or rebellious. We need to take care of our kids, but we know that they won't prosper or even tolerate having no privacy. As our world becomes more interconnected, we find ourselves more and more at odds from our kids. They're constantly bombarded with ads and social media, and they don't know where to find any guidance. At the same time, we want them to be meaningful, not just another notification. Brainwave is an excellent way for parents and kids to agree on the best ways to communicate with each other and check up, giving safety while making the kids feel in the loop. Cell phones often go off when you don't want them to, but are silent when you do want them to. They'll give you alerts, but not about the most important things. They demand our attention, but they're not always the right tool when you really need it. As kids get older and have more unsupervised time, they often press for more freedom. While you know that they're more vulnerable, is it possible to do both? Not with conventional texting cell phones. It's too easy and too tempting to miss a text or ignore one. You want your kids to learn to fend for themselves, but you want to make sure that they're doing it at the right time and in the right places. If kids feel too locked in or walled off, they start to rebel, get angry, argue, or even become very depressed. In hindsight, this can breed both rebellion and negative behaviours. Sometimes your kids want to do sleepovers or trips where you can't watch them. You want them to branch out and experience the world, but you don't want them harmed. They can have freedom and safety without feeling like they're being watched all the time. Unfortunately, feeling constantly watched will too often lead to risk-taking behaviours. So Brainwave's patent-pending system is the proven way for you to get meaningful check-ins instead of constant random calls and texts. Brainwave allows you to get contacted when you want, in the way that you want. Are you ready to keep your kids safe yet engaged with Brainwave's benefits? Brainwave lets you and your kids decide on what message will really matter if they get into difficulty. You can decide on what message goes out to everyone and empower them while keeping them safe. It does this by using a distributed network of family and friends, each of whom know and understand you and your wishes in an emergency. And emergency services and police and ambulances are critical to public health. If you don't know where your kids are or what they're doing, you have no choice. The way to give them freedom and make sure that only you call for emergency help in real emergencies is Brainwave. Such services send a glaring public message to your neighbours that you're in crisis. So don't cry wolf. Don't hit the panic button every time your kid is late. It will lead to challenges, embarrassment, and sometimes even expense and negative social feedback. But absolutely be on the ball, on top of things, and ready and able to know when your kids are potentially in real trouble. Brainwaves is the tool you absolutely need to really care for your special need kid. After this webinar later tomorrow, would you want to be alerted if, heaven forbid, something happened and your child could not respond? We're proud to offer you this opportunity to be one of the first people to experience the benefits of Brainwave. In this special offer, please register your interest below and we'll get in touch with you. Thank you so much for your time, and it's been my pleasure to introduce Brainwave's revolution for keeping your loved ones with special needs as safe as possible.